Yo, what's up? Uh, this is a video that I basically haven't done in ages where I just talk about a video game or a fighting game in particular. But Avatar Alpha released recently. I didn't get to play it because I'm not North America, so unfortunately I only got to watch. But I spent a lot of time watching like a lot of footage because the game actually intrigues me quite a lot. I know I'm kind of behind on. I didn't actually put out any BBCF content on this channel this year, but hopefully that will be fixed and remedied upon next year. So look forward to that. And I plan to finish a series that I started with the past knowledge check. But looking to Avatar, which is another popular IP, a licensed IP, which I'm looking forward to. So I just thought I'd get ahead of the curve and try and start making something and putting stuff back up on the channel. So I wanted to talk about what I'm excited for, what I noticed, what I'm wondering about, and what I'm hoping about. The game actually looks really, really fun. Like, the movement is crazy. It looks like Avatar. It literally just looks like Avatar. And obviously we've always been talking about what kind of fighting games we want from licensed IPs. Obviously we got Dragon Ball in 2017, 2018. A lot of people want like a Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, like all these kind of animes, and and we're getting a Western one in Avatar, so it's very cool. So obviously I don't have any footage, so I'm going to be overlaying some of the talking points that I have with other creators' footage. If any of them, or if you'll see this and you're in the video and you want to take it down, let me know. I'll edit it to, just put it back on me and talking or whatever. But otherwise, yeah, no problems. So one of the first things that I'm excited for is that the game has variations. I missed out on MKX, right? I wasn't playing fighting games at the time. I was watching it, but I wasn't playing fighting games at the time when it was at its height of its competitive and social era or whatever. So I really thought, and I really liked the idea of variations, having the same character but different play styles. And I think that is a great decision for them. It effectively increases character count, but it minimizes dev time, because you don't have to make as many new animations. You don't have to make voice lines, all that stuff. You just change properties on attacks. Maybe you add a couple voice lines to change depending on like what kind of attack they do or whatever. But generally, it cuts down dev time while having effectively more characters, right? And it also helps with people who want to play the same character. I mean, Avatar's a licensed IP, so it's going to have a lot of people who want to play a specific character. For me specifically, I want to play Toph, so I'm waiting for her to come out. But if there's a Toph variation that has more set play, that's going to be more my kind of steez. And if there's a Toph variation that has more like neutral, that might be someone else's, or like just lots of damage, that might be someone else's. You know what I'm saying? So it's very, very interesting that they've gone that route, and I'm happy. Just like MKX as well, like multi-blood actress again, current code I think it is NBAACC. So yeah, very happy they went to that approach, and it's nice to see a modern game doing that as well. Like obviously MKX and multi-blood came out quite a while ago, and DBFZ kind of had it with like how many? No, they didn't really have it, but they just had multiple versions of Goku and Vegeta and Gohan that played slightly differently and did different things. So it works. So I'm happy they're doing that. Next thing I saw that I kind of liked was that they have multiple meters. So a lot of fighting games, well, not a lot of fighting games, but some fighting games recently have the same meter for like movement as special attacks. So like Street Fighter 6, the drive gauge is used for drive rush, defensive mechanics like drive reversal, parry, and what's the other one? Is it just drive rush? Drive rush cancel as well. But this same drive gauge is also used for EX specials, and in that game you can't really get like good combos without using EX specials, like long combos, which for Street Fighter, I mean, that's pretty standard, I think. But obviously, coming as a primarily anime fighter game player, I like having the freedom of using loads of specials and doing long combos. So it's nice for me that they've gone the route of using flow gauge for like movement, some defensive mechanics, some cancels as well. There are some counters you can do with like special move into special move or special move into dash into continuing combo. But they've also got an extra gauge that is separate from that is an actual EX move meter and a super move meter. So that is, I love that. That is definitely like what I want. At least for now. Hopefully we'll see what it's like in the finished product. And there's also like a mini game-esque element with some characters satisfying some conditions. So like if you hit certain special attacks, you'll get more chakra or EX meter gauge. So I'm very excited. It looks very deep. It looks very like a game within a game sort of thing, which I love to play. Obviously my main character in BBCF is Radius Clover, and in that game you're kind of managing your wife meter as well as trying to, you know, play neutral, do Oki. So you're like playing two games at once essentially, and I like that kind of just a game within a game basically. So I'm excited for that. Cool. So those were the things that I'm like really excited for that I saw like straight up, and there's some things that I've noticed that I'm like, okay, like let's see where this goes. Some attacks on counter hit have a lot of screen freeze. I'm not a big fan of this phenomena. I don't even really call it a mechanic, but I call it like a phenomena, and it was something that I think kind of got introduced with Guilty Gear Strive, where like a specific counter hit will have like a huge scream zoom in like effect and pause the game like really heavily, and I'm not a big fan of that, but it's definitely to a lesser extent than Guilty Gear Strive. Guilty Gear Strive, it was basically any counter hit would slow down the game, but in Avatar it looks like only specific hits do it. I've only ever seen it once. It was like Katara's anti-air. Yeah, I think I'll have a video of it on the screen. I haven't seen it like that effect, and it might just be the editing as well. Maybe it's just the editing, I'm not sure, but of the video. So hopefully there's not a lot of screen freeze. I think there's already some characters that have like, so like Aang and Kokora, who have like avatar state where they literally pause the screen and see what happens and stuff. Hopefully there's as little as that as possible. I know that's funny coming from me because I play BBCF, which has overdrive, which is a screen pause, but you know, you take the good with the bad, you can't have everything. But even in that game, it's quite condensed because burst also has, overdrive also has a use of burst. So like sometimes some games no one will screen freeze because they'll be using burst, right? So it's not as egregious in that sense where it's not every interaction, it's not every round sort of thing. So something else I noticed is that you can actually, similarly to Multi-Blood, take control of your character before the game starts, before the round starts, and you can actually consume your flow gauge. Now, I think I saw that consuming flow gauge actually increases your chakra. So what I'm interested in is if you can use flow gauge to actually increase chakra before a round starts. I think the clip I saw, or the instance I saw, was K7 doing like a flow charge at the round start, but he already had full chakra, so he couldn't gain any more. So I'm interested to see if he can actually gain more before a round starts. Obviously it's going to have like Multi-Blood-esque and Marvel-esque neutral, or like not neutral, like round starts, because you can move your character and get into an advantageous position, or try and pigeonhole your opponent into a disadvantageous position. So very interesting there, and I like that. Next thing I noticed is roll. So in BBCF, roll is, you can hit roll off the ground, but I haven't seen anyone hit roll off the ground in Avatar. So I'm a bit, coming from BBCF, I'll probably be like a bit off put by that. But what you can do is chase rolls. I've seen rolls be chased very, very well. I just don't know if the rolls are actually vulnerable or not. There's no indication in BBCF where like if you get hit by a low when you could block, there's a like yellow exclamation mark. If you get hit by an overhead, there's a red exclamation mark. If you get hit by a throw, there's a green. If you get hit by an air unblockable, there's a blue exclamation mark. And if you get hit by an actual unblockable attack, like a red guard animation sort of thing. So it's like, I don't know if the rolls are actually being punished or if the people are just like not blocking. So it'll be nice if, well, obviously we'll find out when the game comes, but something I hope that the game adds is some sort of indicator to why you got hit. That's one thing that BBCF did that I'm surprised not a lot of games since then have done, but an indicator for why you get hit is, I think, very, very useful, especially for beginner players and for veteran players as well. Anyway, it's like, oh, I thought I was holding barrier there, or I thought I was blocking low, or whatever, you know. So it's nice to see. Next thing I noticed is that it's kind of hard to see when someone is unbalanced. So unbalanced is like burnout from Street Fighter 6. When you lose all your flow gauge, your character will say like unbalanced on their side of the screen. And I don't know. First of all, I don't know what, you know, other than not being able to use flow, I don't know what other implications this has. In Street Fighter, you can't use EX specials. You can't. You get more block stun as well. And what else is there? Is it more hit stun as well? I don't know about more hit stun. I don't know if you're putting more hit stun, but I know you're definitely succumb to more block stun. So I'm interested in if there's any other status effects or system mechanics that are affected by being unbalanced, other than just you can't use flow, you can't use flow stance, you can't use flow cancels, etc. So that's what I'm interested in. But also, like I said, it's a bit hard to see. So for Zuko, his outfit is already kind of like bluish grey, but when he's unbalanced it just goes to like fully grey. But it's already, like I said, it's already a bit bluish grey, so it's kind of hard to see. If you look at their skin, it's a lot easier, but with the way Zuko especially is moving around the screen, it's a bit hard to, you know, whatever, discern between the two. Obviously, you can also just look at his gauge and, you know, take note of how long he's been in unbalanced or whatever. But I did notice there's like sort of a bit of ambiguity there with Zuko. With Korra, it's a lot easier to see. I feel like her outfit's a lot more colourful, and obviously Zuko will have more outfits as well that are like way more colourful, like red or green or whatever, compared to his blue one. So it might just be like an outfit thing, and it's probably not really that big of a deal, but just something I noticed. The next thing I saw about being unbalanced, is that it actually causes the red counter hit effect. So for every attack though, so if you get counter hit in at least Avatar, your character flashes red, right? I think this is similar to BBCF as well. I'm not sure, but if you get hit at all in unbalanced, every hit has a red counter hit. Now in BBCF, counter hits have added hit stun and hit stop. So I'm wondering if, first of all, if counter hits have the same effect in Avatar, and also if when you're unbalanced and you have that red counter hit effect, if that also adds like some sort of status effect, like more hit stun, more whatever, or if it's just like negative penalty where if you get hit in that state, you just have more damage applied to you, basically. I would rather it's like more hit stun, because I think that's cooler. You get more like different combo routes and stuff like that, rather than just arbitrarily being like, okay, you just have like more damage now. I think it'd be cool if it's like, okay, you can get more routes now, and if you know those routes, if your knowledge is deep enough, if your application is deep enough, if your awareness is deep enough, then you can get more damage. But if you're just doing the same routes, you're just not going to do like extra damage, right? So that's something that I'm hoping for, but it's not like the biggest deal if it's just like, okay, you can't do flow abilities. So we'll see. So next we'll move on to things that I'm wondering about. So I think I mentioned it before. Oh, actually, did I? Well, who knows. Anyway, stance flow. So stance flow, it reminds me of parry from Street Fighter. So there's a couple questions I had about it. Is like, is it frame one? Is it one button? Is it a button in direction? It doesn't look like you gain any resources from doing it, or like being successful. And obviously it has the downside of if someone throws you while you're in flow stance, not only do I think they get more damage, but they also get like a combo from it. So they've gone like a bit further step from Street Fighter, where if you get thrown while you're parrying, you just get put into a throw counter and you just get like extra damage. But so you actually get just like a combo, which I think is cool. No, I haven't really seen anyone delve into like how to use stance flow as a defensive mechanic. I know that some people have mentioned like, oh, you can do it out of block stun. I don't know if they meant like override your block stun, like a counter assault. I know there is like a counter assault or like a guard cancel in this game. Dead angle in I think Guilty Gear, or is it Guilty Gear? What's dead angle? Anyway, the point is I don't know if it overrides the block stun or if it is doable out of block stun, like Reflect, for example, or like a DP, something like that. So I need to, you know, when I get my hands in it, I need to like test it and see what you can do. I've heard that there's like a high flow or like a standing flow and a low or crouching flow that only block or dodge mids and overheads for the high flow and lows for the low flow. But I don't No, it's similar to like multi-blood type Luminous Shield. So I'm not sure if that's how it works, but that's what I've heard. But obviously, if I actually get my hands on it and get some time, then I'll be able to, you know, test it out myself and give like a full-on idea of what it does. If you can't get me in the next alpha, right, get Hex Pro, okay? I'll be happy with that. Get Hex Pro. Hex Pro is another one of my friends from NA who is very, very technical, and he loves like the technical side as much as I do. So if you can't get me, man, me and Hex will sit in the training mode all day. So just get one of us, or both of us, please, man. Shouts to Hex, shouts to Sean. But yeah, next one is Flow Escape and Infinites. Obviously in the alpha there's going to be like bugs and Infinites, like that's always going to happen in like early stage fighting games, so you know, we enjoy it while it lasts. I don't know if they're gonna survive when it gets to like the full game in modern era gaming, which I'm not a big fan of Infinites. There does seem to be some sort of infinite prevention system in the Flow Escape, okay? So I don't know how exactly it works. I think Lord Knight suggested it was like at 35 hits, so I'm like not exactly sure. The thing that my problem with that is that I prefer the length of the combo to be like relative to like the thing that you hit them with. So like lows and like quick low, like any like sort of quick attack will give you like a short combo, any like slow attack or like stronger attack will give you like a longer combo. So that's something that I'm kind of like wondering about, basically. How exactly does the hit stun work? How does is it like hit counter based infinite prevention system or combo timer based infinite prevention system? That's a mouthful, man. Obviously, BBCF has a starter-based hit stun deterioration, and it also has a combo timer-based infinite prevention system, right? So after a certain amount of time, the next hit in the combo is just going to do 1 frame of hit stun, that's it. And also, that amount of time is based off of what you started the combo with. So if you started it with like some sort of quick attack, like a normal or a overhead or a throw, it's going to be like a short combo. If you started with like a DP, it's going to be a very short combo. And if you started with like a medium start blow, like a 10 frame low or whatever, like a 2C, like an anti-air, or it's going to be a long combo, right? So I'm hoping to find out more about the combo system, maybe basically about its limitations and like how far you can go with it, because obviously that's really the decider on how you're going to form your combos and what people are going to do, basically. So that's something I'm interested in. And leading on from that, the combos and infinites, loops are like very prevalent in this game, which I think is actually a good thing, or it works at least for this kind of game where you have multiple versions of the same character. I think some variations should have loops, and you should be incentivized to do loops on them, but some variations probably shouldn't have loops, right? Obviously, my first fighting game was Dragon Ball FighterZ, where you had multiple versions of the same character. So, for example, you've got Base Vegeta, you've got Blue Vegeta, and you've got Super Saiyan Vegeta, right? Base Vegeta, when I was playing, was the loop guy. Like, he would do JS loops, right? Super Saiyan Goku, and then when it comes to the Gokus, Blue Goku was the loop guy, right? So, but they didn't all have the same combo structure. So, if the Avatar team plays their cards right, I think they can discern the different variations, not only by the properties of their attacks and their playstyles, but also their combo variety. If you make some of the characters have different properties on the normals or specials or whatever, then you can give them, some of them loops, some of them, you know, just like straight different kind of combos. You can even do that by just adding different proration values to characters' moves if you want to do it that, you know, badly. But obviously that depends on however their design philosophy, essentially. In BBCF, there are some characters that do repeated specials, but it's very heavily disincentivized because there's SMP in that game. There's the same move proration. So the second time you do a special, it does around like 30%. Usually, some situations, some characters, SMP is less of a factor, like Hakuman in Overdrive, but otherwise you don't really want to do the same special over and over again. So we'll see what kind of path they decide to take. Obviously, this might already be considered and fixed or left in the next alpha, or whatever state of the game is that they have is right now. So who knows? But I just thought it was interesting that some characters are kind of not heavily reliant but can utilize loops well, and others are like just straight up doing different specials, different combos, different juggles or whatever. So I'm happy that there's that sort of difference, and I hope the variety of combos changes per character variation and not just per character. And then lastly, things that I'm hoping for. These are things that I hope are in the final game. Some of these are quality of life, some of these are more like actual game mechanics or like characters. I need a puppet character, man. After playing Ready as Clover for so long, I love a puppet character, man. Give me a puppet character. So I don't know what I've only watched like a third of the Avatar series, the first one. I haven't even touched Korra, so I don't know all the characters. But let me get a puppet character, man. I don't know who would be the puppet character in the game. If you know, then let me know. But let me get a puppet character, and let me get Toph with a Tetsu Zanko. I absolutely love Tetsu Zankos. If you don't know what Tetsu Zanko is, it's basically the move where they like push forward with like their shoulder and like one arm over. It's like one arm over the head and then one arm below. But it's like kind of like just like a shoulder check. I love those kind of moves. I think Miyako had one in Multiplayer Type Lumina, who was one of my characters that I played. And then I also, who other characters have it? Azrael has something similar, but it's not quite as like pronounced. His is more like, yo, what's up? You know what I'm saying? His is more like casual, right? So I want something more, you know what I'm saying? Like you can really feel them step into it. Give me that. So yeah, those are my two wishes, man, for characters. Give Toph a Tetsu Zanko and give me a proper character. Please. Next thing I'm hoping for is an in-match damage counter. Guys, I can't express how upset I am that this isn't like a staple. This is like rollback netcode to me. This is that serious to me. Every game needs an in-match damage counter. I can't believe there's fighting games out there without them. Since coming to BBCF. Uni has, actually not even BBCF, I started my first fighting game after that I really played after DBFC was Melty Blood Type Lumina. And obviously I watched MKX quite a lot. What other games did I think Uni as well has one, right? French Bread know what they're doing. Sometimes. Guys, an in-game damage counter is very easy to implement without it obtruding the screen. Especially because the numbers on the Avatar fighting game for the combo counter, they're not huge, right? So you can just find some space next to it to put. And I think it just helps so much when it comes to labbing, commentating as well. And then obviously you can differentiate between like counter hit numbers, like they do in BBCF, where if you get counter hit or if you go into active flow, the counter becomes red. The only thing that BBCF didn't do, damage over time effects, like Zuko's Flame Carpet, like Rachel's Poison, and Bang's Poison. These don't count on the damage counter. The only thing I would say is to somehow implement those into the damage counter. Probably easier than said, which is why they haven't done it. But obviously, because we do have a damage over time effect in Zuko's damage counter, it would be nice if those were implemented. I think the reason it's not implemented is because you can be damaged by poison and I assume Zuko's fire while not in a combo. So obviously if you're just in the area of effect of the thing, like Rachel's rosary bed or whatever, thorn bed or whatever, and if you've obviously taken a hit from Bang's poison but you haven't actually taken any damage after that, you're still taking damage but like there's no combo happening, right? So I guess that's why they don't include it in the damage counter, which makes sense. So it'd be weird if it's like just a number going up and then like what happens if you reset the combo with like a fight, like you do the nail, Bang's nail, it hits them and then the combo ends and then you hit them again. Do you then include it in the... It's weird. Maybe you have like a separate counter. What if you have a separate counter, like a poison counter or like a flame counter or like a burn counter or like a no? Consider it, man. Just consider it. Consider having like a little, you know what I'm saying? I think that would be useful. But anyway, if you're not going to implement the damage over time, just put a damage counter in, please. I'm begging you. I need it. We need it. And then the last thing, I've said this already, but please get me in that open alpha test, man. I need that. I need that so badly, man. I've been looking for like a modern... Listen, I love BBCF, and I'm probably going to play it forever. But I've been looking for like a modern fighting game to play that I can just boot up. I tried 2X. You know, I'm not going to bash any games, but I've tried 2X. I need a modern game that I can just boot up, play ranked, and just grind ranked, grind training mode, and just play, man. I need to pick up and play a game, basically. So, get me in that alpha. Let me lab, let me play, let me like make videos and stuff, and I'm excited for this game. I haven't been excited for a fighting game in a long time, so please let me know. But yeah, you guys are cooking. Looks good, looks great. I'll be there at release anyway, so hopefully I enjoy it. But even if I don't enjoy it, I wish success for the game. But I think I will. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. Shout out to everyone who's made videos on it, and shout out to everyone who's supporting it and making it. So yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Might just be like an outfit thing.